Welcome to Build Insights. I'm Nadine from Make Architects. I'm with Rian from InvestBuild.
Morning.
And we've partnered together to answer questions that we find our clients often struggle with or issues that we deal with. We've spoken about how to finance your building costs. So staying in that same vein, today we're chatting about cost control. Rian, I'm going to jump right in. I'm going to ask you, what is your top tip or what is the biggest advice you can give to people in terms of cost control?
Yeah, so, Nadine, when people get to the stage where they're ready for a builder's quote, they often brief me and they say they've got a small budget and they've got this and that and so forth, but then it's too late. They're bringing a blueprint to me that I have to cost. There would already be a lot of cost control mistakes encapsulated in that document. So the starting point is right at the beginning when you even purchase your stand, because the area, the estate, there's a lot of factors that will influence your build cost in terms of minimum requirements that a homeowners association would require for your build. Secondly, your design. Your design is everything. And it comes back to that myth that we have discussed in previous videos, that rate per square cost. There's no such thing. Every build is different. Every plan has got a different rate per square and costing. So I would say the architect is really the starting point of everything. How do you guys manage cost control from that point of view?
Okay, so I think for us, cost control is something that has become massively important, because otherwise what happens with us is we design a house, the clients love it, they can't afford it, and we have to
redesign.
Circles,
yeah.
Yeah. So we've actually re-engineered our entire process. So in my office, we spend quite a bit of time on the brief. We actually have a section of work that we call brief generation. We'll sit down with the client, we go through the accommodation, we understand the essence of the project. What kind of house do you want? How must the spaces work? What kind of finishes do you want? What is the estate that you're in? What are the rules if you're in an estate? What is your budget? We then look at data from similar projects that have recently gone to tender, and we will advise the client. Your budget is inadequate, or I believe it's adequate. We then add areas to that document so that we can get to an area and we can get to some sort of cost. We use that as an estimate and a starting point. We then let that data guide the client and myself together to understand that this is what realistically we can achieve for this kind of house. This is the size that it's going to be. I mean, I've done the exercise with clients and they've actually realized they cannot afford to build.
Yes.
And have opted not to. And I would much rather do that and advise my clients properly so that we all agree and understand where we're going. So that, before we even draw a line, we all agree and understand, and we let real data inform us of where we're going. Then what we do, what I also suggest is then once we have a design, so once we have a 3D building, where things can actually be measured and quantified, we then often suggest that clients get a high, like a bill of quantities, but a high level estimate, so that you can see if you're in the ballpark. Now, I know you guys make use of a bill of quantities extensively. I don't know if you want to mention anything around that, because that's another fantastic cost control mechanism.
Yeah, definitely. I just want to jump in there before I go to the bill of quantities. What I like about what you've said now, clients often go and they say, I want to build a 600 square meter house. They don't really know what that entails or how big is 600 square meters. So what I like about what you said now, start with what the need is, and let's then flesh it out from there and see where we end up, and then we can cut down if we need to or add on.
Exactly.
Because, that's good. Now, a bill of quantities is so important. It is used in commercial construction with each and every build, and there's a very good reason for it. In residential clients, I think they feel they want to save money and they don't want to pay for a quantity surveyor. Now, to explain a bill of quantities, it is a professional independent person that is registered with a professional body that takes your project and he sets up a bill of quantities. So in that bill of quantities will be each and every item that goes in that house. Brick, cement, sand, nails, finishes. The architect will usually assist the quantity surveyor with your allowances, because that's a grey and fuzzy area. How much do we allow for a tile, kitchen, bath, and so forth. And he will then set up that bill of quantities without rates. The client can then take that bill of quantities and put it out to market to tender. It is very easy then to compare tenders, because guys are quoting of the same
quantity, yes.
Same quantity and base, and there can be no stories. If there then needs any variation orders need to be raised on site, it's not a problem because the rates are captured in the bill. There's no grey areas. If we said a 1 meter of boundary wall is 2,700 Rand and we build 2 additional meters, we just time it by the price.
I think just to be clear for anyone watching the video, so the bill of quantities, the quantity surveyor actually measures and quantifies everything from your building and your design. It goes into a document, rates are applied. I also found in my practice that a bill of quantities is very useful when you're comparing quotes from builders. Because if you don't have that base document the same and everybody's using the same format, the same quantities, it becomes very difficult to compare quotes.
Yeah, something that I want to add on that, and it protects the client as well.
Yes.
Unfortunately, as we've spoken before, the residential market is not well governed and managed, so you would get builders that could make mistakes.
Yes.
There might be a huge slope on a stand, a big plinth, they might miss that, calculate the bricks incorrectly, you appoint them, once they start they realize they made a mistake, and then the pain starts for the client. So if you get a professional guy, you know it's correct, and from a budget perspective, there won't be any surprises.
I think that's really valuable advice. So I think starting with the architect, I think it's also important for people to ask, if you're interviewing architects, ask them, what cost control measures do you have in place in your office? How are you going to ensure that our project is delivered on budget? Do you work with a QS? I think those are super important. I think another thing is that I've found and that I've seen when I've seen other drawings is for clients to understand what kind of documentation you're going to get. You know, I think, like you say, people,
from the architect.
Yes, people want to save money and maybe only look at the fees. And as an architect, I can tell you that if you're only looking at fees and not what you're getting, you're going to get shortchanged, because if somebody's charging a minimal rate, it means you're getting minimal attention,
and there's no
minimal
details.
detail.
Yes.
Exactly. So I think it's very important for clients, when you're looking at the architect, don't only look at their design style, look at their experience, look at the cost control, and understand what you are getting in terms of how detailed drawings are.
Yeah, and there's 2 elements to that, so it's a great point. So let's say there's no bill of quantities involved. The client gets to me, they give me a plan and 4 other builders to quote on. And now they've skimmed on the architect. So let's say there's a section feature wall at the pool. All it is 1 block with a note, feature wall at the pool. What does that mean? Everyone will interpret that in a different manner because there's no specification and design. And typically, it's very easy for a builder then to go and put a line item in 2,000 Rand. Client doesn't really know what's going on, and that value is not correct because maybe they wanted the wall cladded, a vertical garden, whatever. It needs to be specified, and that's the budget breakers, and that's the items that upsets clients because they had this dream in mind, and now at the end they can't afford it, or there's a fight with the builder because the specifications wasn't set up front.
I think it's important to note, and maybe this is another video, but you cannot just get drawings from your architect. So in my office, we actually prepare written specification.
Super
we have
important.
A builder's work document that unpacks the builder's work in writing. It lists all the steel members because a builder could miss a small post on a plan. And then we have a list of other items, like a feature wall would be listed there and have a description.
A detail, yes.
And we would then either ask the contractor for a cost, we would put in a cost, or if we're working with a QS, we then have that
Got them.
quantified.
Yeah, that's awesome. And another factor to consider is the engineering. So let's say I get a very well documented plan from a client, there's still a guess factor, and that's the engineering work. So preferably the client must go and get an engineer design and then approach a builder with detailed plans that is specified, and then engineering actual designs that you can cost, because that can also be a shock factor once you get to that stage in terms of the size of I-beams, support, cantilever slabs. Those items is expensive.
Yeah, and I think there it's also just important the engineer that gets appointed on the project. You want somebody who has some experience, preferably experience in the residential market, and who doesn't over design everything, because that's, I think for me, that's often a thing that you face maybe with somebody who is younger or less experienced.
Yeah. They're protecting themselves, so they over-engineer.
Everything is over-engineered. So I think very important from this discussion, the professional team and the people that you appoint to work with you are part of the investment and are going to help with the cost control from the onset, because as you say, by the time the plan gets to you, it's too late now to chop off R1 million, because it now means you have to change the design, make the house smaller. You can't, a brick costs what they cost. You can't also choose cheaper floor tiles and sanitary ware to save R1 million, and then are you compromising the final product and your return on investment in the long run?
Yeah, and ultimately that return on investment is very important. Building a house is an investment in South Africa, and you want to maximize that return. So you want to ensure that you use quality materials, you've got a well-designed house, and so forth. So once you sell that home, that you maximize and you can move on and maybe build again.
Okay, so I think what we both agree on today is that your professional team is the start of cost control. Also be aware where you're buying your stand, what the minimum requirements are, in terms of size, because I know a lot of estates have size requirements. Some of them you have to use a specific percentage of cladding. That's going to add to the cost. Please feel free to watch some of our other videos where we discuss how to finance your build, and we speak about build costs. If you have further questions, please reach out to us. Riaan can be reached at InvestBuild if you visit his website, www.investbuild.co.za.
That's it.
And I am www.make.co.za.
Awesome.
Thanks very much for watching, and I think our next video should be how to control cost on site.
Yes.
Look out for that one.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Bye.